Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule of the Galaxy fans. We are here live at the ICCC convention. This is actually episode 291 of Rule of the Galaxy podcast.
Does this count as a full episode?
It does, because
Okay.
I talked to Joe, and anytime I host the podcast,
that's true.
I never
You
know
make the
what
choice.
episode it
This
is,
is
and I
true.
always need to text Joe and say, hey, what episode is this? He said last night's live episode was 290, so that counts as
That just
an
makes
episode.
300 closer.
With Hyperspace Heroes. I know. We're getting close to 300.
So close.
So, yes.
4 years of this stuff.
I thought it was a one-time thing.
I know, you keep saying that.
I thought it was one time and we were done. 4 years later, somehow we're still doing this.
Now here we are at ICCC. This is your guys. This is Alfie. This is the third one
Yeah,
you've
this is
been
3
to.
for me.
And this is my second. Brent, this
It's
is your
my
second.
second as well, but both have been at this venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 291. I'm here with Alfie and Brent. One funny thing that I did some research on right before we were starting this episode. My first episode on Rule of the Galaxy podcast was August 7th, 2021. And this is the first time I've met Brent in person.
I was joking with Alfie when you were like, I don't even know who this guy is if he comes out of the room to come meet us in the lobby. Joking because, we've spent 200 some hours talking to each other, and this is the first time we've met face to face.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Like I said, I know your kids, your family so well, and I've met you one other time face to face.
Yeah.
Last year at ICCC.
Yeah.
And that's the power of Star Wars. That's the power of this convention. It's our opportunity to get together, have some fun. And it is funny because we don't feel like strangers. I see you guys. I'm just like, what's up? We're all sharing a room together. You know, It's great. So I have a couple topics. I just kind of wanted to do a regular podcast. Before I get to them, though, what have you seen on the floor here so far? What have you bought here at the ICCC, Alfie? What have you bought so far here?
Oh, so far I found a great deal on a Obi-Wan Black Series in the Clone Trooper armor. It's great. I love it. I have always wanted that figure, but it's been priced way out of my range, and I found a good deal yesterday.
I feel like when I started talking on this podcast in 2021, that figure was like unavailable anywhere. And Joe, I think, had to pay like $80 or $90
I
off of
believe
eBay
so.
to get one.
Yeah.
And
There's
you got
de-
it.
there's
You got it
deals
for
here.
40.
I got it for 40.
Okay.
I actually passed it up, and within an hour I went back and bought it. It just weighed on my mind. It ate at me. I had to go get it.
Yeah, I might have been in his ear a little bit too, saying, you should buy it, Alfie.
Yeah, I got you back last night, so we're even, Steven.
I know. The room sales, it's funny. I'm very calculated with my purchases, which sometimes doesn't work out here because if you see something, you're like, I'm going to go back for that. A lot of times it'll be gone. So, yeah, I have to say, last night the Hyperspace guys were helping me find some stuff. So, it was really great, the stuff I found in the room sales last night. I'm excited to walk the floor again today. So,
Yeah, they're definitely enablers.
yeah. Yeah. It's an addiction, but it's a good addiction, I
Eh.
think, you know?
I don't get the addiction, guys. Like, I'm here because of Star Wars. I'm here because of the camaraderie, the people that you meet, the Ormans, the ECPC guys, Hyperspace Heroes. That's what brings me here. I just walked past a Thrawn cosplayer that's like 6'7", I feel like.
What?
Wearing like the full-on Rebels white Admiral Thrawn with the white helmet. Full on, like, you got to find that dude because
Yeah,
it was pretty
we have to
intense.
find
Like,
it.
I
It's
feel
a
like he's
great
like
cosplay.
6'7". But so, like, that stuff is like cool as what I look for.
The cosplayers are here today.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed as I was
A couple Twi'leks
fashionably,
walking around.
Yeah.
And they live up to what me and Alfie always say about Twi'leks. We have never seen an unattractive Twi'lek.
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about them, but the Twi'leks, there's just something about them.
As I was strolling into the podcast room fashionably late, I thought that might have been the first thing you guys were going to say to me is, did you see the Twi'leks?
I mean, it was the first thing I noticed. Then I turned to the right and saw the Thrawn. Notice I talked about Thrawn first, then the Twi'leks.
Yes, exactly.
I had to try to.
Very respectful.
Yeah.
So while we're on this live, we got to hit some Star Wars topics. That's what we do as a podcast.
Yeah.
So the first topic that I jotted down today, which movie do you think will be made first? Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie or the Rey movie?
Neither.
So I have to pick one, I guess.
You got to pick one.
If I'm going to pick one, that is so tough.
What is the background of the Taika Waititi? Like, what has been leaked or talked about? Is there anything? Because the Rey is obviously the idea is the Jedi Star, the Skywalker Academy, taking that and moving forward. I believe is what has been leaked about the Rey movie. Am I wrong?
That's pretty much it.
Right, the fact that she's going to start her own academy and start training younglings and stuff like that, and basically recreate the Skywalker Academy from the expanded universe,
Right.
but with Rey doing it in this world. Is there anything about what Waititi's was supposed
I
to
have
be
not
about?
heard anything about his. All I've ever heard him say about his film is that he has been writing it for years and can't get past the first act because he's, his words were, every time I start writing, a smuggler with an alien sidekick shows up in Act 2, so I have to start over.
I mean, that's pretty accurate for what's
Yeah.
going on with all of them, right?
Right.
Like, as you say all the time, new ideas are
new
hard.
ideas are hard.
New ideas are hard, and we saw that with the show that must not be named, right? Like,
Exactly.
right? Like they tried to go in and do something new, and I think they had several key flaws to it. I commend them for trying to do a new story to try to bring the High Republic to life. I wish it would have gone better for the bulk of the audience, but they tried something new and it didn't go over well with the fan base because
No, it did not.
the fan base wants to latch on to, there wants to be nuggets of things to latch onto.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest problems with that series that we shall not name was that, and I commend them for trying something new,
Yeah.
but everything felt like it was a first draft, and they never worked past. It didn't look good. It didn't sound good.
I just think it looked Trekkie. I think, I think like that is like the cardinal sin for all Star Wars
Yeah.
fans is that it looked too much like Trek.
I heard they're showing The Acolyte for free at the Star Wars Galaxy Edge.
Shh! We said this should not be named. You broke the rule.
So if I'm going to
Good old
answer your
Baltimore.
question,
Sorry,
I would say
I didn't realize I was going to be so loud in this. Shush.
Oh, I like it.
I would say the Rey movie has the slimmest hope of being made.
Yeah.
I think because the Disney era fan, and I'm talking about like the 12 to 14-year-old, the 10, 11-year-old, those kids I feel liked Rey as a character. Your daughter
Yes.
runs around and for years thought she was Rey. Now
Yes.
she's kind of moved on. But like that era of fan has an attachment to Rey.
Right.
Our era of fan, I don't think has as much of an attachment to Rey. We can have an argument about why or whatever. But I also think that talking to Star Wars fans, they liked the characters. They just wish they would have done something different with them. So I think Rey has a fan base that will pull something in. I don't know because we don't know what Waititi's is about.
It's
No.
never going to happen.
However,
the
like,
Waititi one, I just
And it's
threw that in there.
his style is a little slapsticky. His style is a little too like comedic.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how that's gonna go because that was the idea for Solo was a buddy cop movie, and they replaced the director halfway through because they didn't like the direction of the buddy cop movie.
Right.
Yeah. And people didn't love Thor: Love and Thunder too much.
Right. It
actually.
kind of felt like
Yeah, his stick worked with one Thor movie. 2 was way too much. And I think one of the problems with the Rey movie, and I've said this many times on our podcast, The Rise of Skywalker didn't leave a good place to build a story afterwards. And now you have the actual actors and actresses themselves who really have expressed that they don't have an interest in coming back.
well, when you throw a check at them, they'll come back.
Eventually.
Right.
You got to give that a little time.
Yeah, but as far as the Rey movie goes, it's still crazy to me that this is delayed after you brought Daisy Ridley out on the stage. You announced it. You said this is happening. It just shows me how dysfunctional things kind of are right now.
I keep trying to tell you guys this. That's how dysfunctional movies are. Movies don't have a linear timeline. They don't start and finish.
I want to believe.
I know you can want to believe, but I'll go to Black Adam. It's one of the best stories that I saw. Black Adam had The Rock behind it. It still took 15 years for The Rock to get the Black Adam made. It was, you can argue about the quality, but it took 15 years. Jim Cameron wanted to make Avatar. Now he's making Avatar in the jungle, Avatar in the water, and I think you're going to have a Jungle Tar in the volcano is the next one.
Jungle Tar.
I'm sorry, Avatar in the volcano.
I like the sound of Jungle Tar.
But it took him 10 years to get that movie made. Like, because we're so invested in the Star Wars world, we get to see all of these things, and people make comments. They do put the cart before the horse all the time. But movies are stops and starts. Production is not necessarily this linear. It's going to go from here, and it's going to end here. Takes time for people to buy into it and for money to come around and for executives come and go. So one executive starts the movie, they leave, somebody stops it, a new executive comes in, is like, oh, I like that one, let's put that one back on, and they put it back on. Like, it's part of the movie making business, but we're so invested in it, we live and die by any little nugget of information that we're given.
Now, one positive we have, the Mandalorian movie is happening.
Is it?
I will bet the bank on that movie happening.
Is
It's
it?
filming?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's filming.
I mean, we had, so at ICC, there was Brandon Wayne. Brandon Wayne was signed on to be here. He did a little video saying that, like, he had to cancel his appearances here because it conflicted with the shooting schedule of the Mando
Evidence.
movie.
That's evidence right there. Pure evidence.
But just because they're shooting it doesn't mean it's going to make it into the can
Oh, my
and
God.
get to the theater.
It's happening. It's happening. And we might be getting a trilogy out of it because Giancarlo Esposito, not Giancarlo Stanton, said...
It's Giancarlo, isn't it?
I thought it's Giancarlo. Giancarlo?
It starts with
I'm not really sure.
Anyone?
John? Juan?
Is it
Giancarlo.
John?
All
Okay,
right,
so it's like
yeah.
a G's. Okay.
I just recently watched Breaking Bad for the first time, so I'm an even bigger fan of
Russ
him.
Friend?
No.
You're a
yeah.
good Russ Friend fan?
He was amazing in that. But he kind of dropped the hint that there could be a Mando trilogy.
Which is interesting because he's already died twice. So
But it was the clone, and he was in Mando armor.
yeah, he's in Beskar.
He was in like modified Beskar armor.
It's Space Wizards. You just make something up.
But he was
go with it.
There was a whole room of clones. Who's to say that it wasn't just a clone of him, and there's another room of clones somewhere else?
There's always another room of clones.
I know, right? Especially now that we put cloning into everything.
He's too good to get rid of. So, I mean,
He is a great bad guy.
he makes a great villain, and I think we're going to get to see even more layers of him in this movie that is 110% going to be in theaters. Maybe I'll fly out to Indy for this, or maybe you guys could all fly out to PA for it. What do you think about that?
You should probably fly to Indy.
All right. I guess it's easier to get one guy out there for it. But yeah, as we're wrapping up the show here, a couple things I just want to hit on. We've had a great time here so far. We've been running around with Hyperspace Heroes. It's been great seeing those guys hang in the podcast room, seeing everybody out on the floor here. We're going to get to do another show here later today.
Aiden Cook, I believe, we're going to be doing some interviews with Aiden Cook, who, for those that may not know, he is Benthic Two Tubes.
Yeah.
From the Rogue One movie.
Yes, and I think he has a pretty extensive list of characters he's been in.
Yeah, he's like he's got a
films.
puppeteer, and he's got some voice acting, and he's also like an acting coach too.
Yeah.
For like a child acting coach from the stuff that we've looked up. So
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. You can catch that later today. Follow the ICCC YouTube channel for all these live podcasts that are coming on. There's a lot of great stuff happening.
ECPC TV Facebook page as well is where this is
Yeah.
going live as well.
Yeah, and this equipment is amazing. This will never get old.
No.
Hopping on this stage and doing this.
it is
really
impressive.
is awesome. And one final thing, we obviously need to give a shout out to Joe, our pilot of this podcast. He could not make it here, so big shout out to Joe. You're the reason that we're all here and we're all together for it. So
Joe and Joey, right?
Yes.
So they wanted to start it as a rule the galaxy as father and son, and so we are now ruling the galaxy as a dumpster fire podcast.
yes.
Yeah, that's right. Shameless plug here, but I am wearing the new Rule the Galaxy sweatshirt, part of our fall 2024 collection. My mother-in-law finished it up for me. Much appreciation for that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful hoodie. So if you see Alfie walking around here, check it out. But until next time, that's chapter 290 of
291?
291
291. Come on, D-Doc.
of Rule the Galaxy podcast. And until the next time, may the Force be with you.